The silence inside the glass tower was louder than any storm. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting golden lines across polished marble floors, but not even the warmth of a beautiful morning could reach the man sitting alone behind the massive oak desk. His billion-dollar empire had survived recessions, fierce competition, and impossible odds, yet it had been shattered overnight by someone he trusted more than family. $40 million had disappeared, his closest business partner had vanished without a trace, investors were panicking, and the phones that once rang with opportunity now echoed with accusations. For the first time in 30 years, billionaire Ethan Caldwell lowered his head into trembling hands and cried like a man who had lost everything that truly mattered. Before we continue this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances. Every small act of support helps these stories reach hearts that need hope. Outside the office windows, the city continued its busy rhythm. Cars filled the streets, construction cranes stretched into the bright blue sky, and people hurried toward dreams they believed were still possible. Ethan watched them through blurred eyes, wondering when he had forgotten what dreaming even felt like. Years of chasing success had built towers, companies, and fortunes, but somewhere along the way, he had quietly traded peace for profit. Now all that remained was an expensive office filled with luxury furniture that suddenly felt colder than an abandoned warehouse. The betrayal had not come from a stranger. It came from Richard, the man Ethan had called his brother for nearly 20 years. Together they had started the company from a cramped garage with borrowed computers and endless determination. They had celebrated victories together, mourned personal losses together, and promised that no amount of money would ever change their loyalty. Yet money had changed everything. Richard had secretly manipulated financial records for years, slowly transferring company funds into shell corporations before disappearing overseas. The authorities promised investigations, lawyers promised justice, but Ethan understood something painful. Even if every dollar returned, trust never would. News channels quickly turned the disaster into entertainment. Headlines questioned Ethan's leadership. Financial analysts predicted the collapse of his empire. Social media mocked the billionaire who supposedly had everything yet failed to see betrayal happening beside him. Every article added another invisible weight onto his shoulders. Sleep became impossible. Food lost its taste. Each morning he forced himself into the office, staring at spreadsheets without understanding the numbers before him. One Tuesday morning, after another sleepless night, Ethan dismissed every meeting on his calendar. He simply wanted silence. Around noon, he noticed movement outside his office. A maintenance worker was repairing a broken hallway light while a young boy quietly sat nearby doing homework with worn pencils and a backpack that had clearly seen better days. The worker was Daniel Brooks, a single father who worked 2 jobs to provide for his 10-year-old son, Noah. Since school was closed for teacher training that day, Noah had nowhere else to go except with his father. Daniel apologized repeatedly to security for bringing him into the building, but the staff knew Daniel as one of the hardest working employees in the company. They welcomed the quiet child without hesitation. From inside the office, Ethan watched the pair through the partially open door. Daniel worked carefully despite obvious exhaustion. Sweat covered his forehead, yet every few minutes he smiled toward Noah, who smiled back with complete trust. There was no expensive suit between them, no luxury watch, no powerful title. Only love. Several hours later, Daniel accidentally dropped his toolbox. Metal tools scattered across the hallway with a loud crash. Ethan instinctively stepped outside to help gather them. As he bent down, he noticed Noah standing beside him. The boy looked up with innocent curiosity. He had recognized Ethan from company photographs displayed throughout the building. Unlike adults, however, Noah knew nothing about billion-dollar scandals or financial disasters. He only saw a sad man with red eyes. Without hesitation, the child softly placed one tiny hand on Ethan's arm. He simply whispered 3 words. "You're enough." Nothing more. 3 ordinary words spoken with extraordinary sincerity. For a brief second, time seemed to stop. Noah wasn't talking about money. He wasn't talking about business success. He wasn't talking about headlines or reputation. Somehow, without realizing it, the child had spoken directly to the wound Ethan had been hiding from the world. For years Ethan had secretly believed his worth depended entirely on success. Every achievement demanded another. Every milestone became another starting line. Even after earning billions, he never felt enough. Richard's betrayal had only confirmed the fear buried deep inside him, that perhaps he was valuable only as long as he kept winning. But this child had unknowingly challenged that belief. "You're enough." The words echoed through Ethan's heart long after Daniel and Noah returned to work. That evening, instead of staying late in the empty office, Ethan drove home before sunset for the first time in years. He walked through rooms that had become little more than expensive hotel suites. Family photographs gathered dust on shelves. His late wife's favorite piano remained untouched. He suddenly realized he had spent years building wealth while neglecting the memories that truly defined his life. The following morning looked different. Sunlight streamed into the office with new meaning. Instead of beginning with financial reports, Ethan called every department leader together. Employees entered the conference room expecting layoffs and devastating announcements. Fear filled every face. Instead, Ethan stood quietly before them. He admitted the company had been hurt. He admitted he had made mistakes by trusting blindly. He admitted he had forgotten the people behind the profits. For the first time in decades, employees saw not a billionaire executive but a human being. Then Ethan made an unexpected decision. Executive bonuses were cancelled, including his own, but not to save his fortune. Every available dollar would instead protect employee jobs. No families would lose healthcare. No parents would lose income because of someone else's betrayal. Ethan sold one of his private vacation estates and several luxury investments to stabilize payroll until the investigation recovered company assets. Many advisors called him foolish. Investors questioned his priorities. Employees quietly cried. Word spread across the company that the billionaire had sacrificed his own luxury before asking anyone else to sacrifice theirs. Productivity slowly returned. Departments that once competed against one another began cooperating. Managers volunteered longer hours without additional pay. People stopped working only for salaries. They started working for each other. Meanwhile, Daniel continued repairing lights, elevators, and heating systems exactly as before. He never expected recognition. He had no idea his son's simple words had transformed the company's future. Several months passed. The investigation recovered only a fraction of the stolen money, yet something far more valuable had returned. Hope. The company's culture became stronger than ever before. Customers noticed improved service. New investors admired Ethan's transparency during the crisis. Businesses that had once avoided partnership now respected his integrity even more than his wealth. One afternoon Ethan invited Daniel and Noah into his office. The same office where months earlier tears had fallen onto polished wood now felt warm with afternoon sunshine. Ethan thanked Daniel for raising such a remarkable young man. Daniel looked confused. Noah smiled shyly. Ethan explained that 3 simple words had saved more than a business. They had saved a life. Because on that terrible morning, Ethan had genuinely believed everything valuable about himself had disappeared with $40 million. He had forgotten that character survives even when fortunes do not. As gratitude, Ethan established a scholarship fund in Noah's name for children of hardworking single parents. He also created leadership programs focused not only on business performance but on compassion, humility, and mental well-being. Years later, business schools studied Ethan's financial recovery as an example of resilience. Employees remembered something different. They remembered the day their billionaire leader admitted his pain instead of hiding behind pride. They remembered the maintenance worker who quietly served everyone without complaint. They remembered the little boy whose innocent kindness changed an entire corporation. Life has a remarkable way of reminding us that healing rarely arrives wearing expensive clothes or carrying impressive titles. Sometimes it appears through ordinary people living extraordinary hearts. Sometimes the greatest lessons come from those who possess almost nothing except compassion. Ethan never recovered every stolen dollar. He never repaired the broken friendship. He never erased the painful headlines. But he gained something infinitely greater. He rediscovered purpose. Every morning afterward, before beginning work, he walked through every department greeting employees by name. He listened more than he spoke. He celebrated birthdays, visited sick workers in hospitals, and personally welcomed every new employee. His company became known not simply for innovation but for humanity. Noah eventually grew into a successful teacher. Rather than chasing wealth, he spent his life helping children believe in themselves, just as he had unknowingly helped a broken billionaire years earlier. Ethan often attended Noah's school events, sitting proudly among parents and grandparents. Whenever people asked how they met, Ethan simply smiled. He would say that the wisest business consultant he ever had was 10 years old. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness so more people can discover stories that remind us compassion still exists in this world. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness changes everything," if you believe one small act of compassion can completely transform someone's life. As the sun slowly set behind the city's towering skyline that unforgettable evening, golden light once again filled Ethan's office. But this time, the room was no longer empty. It was filled with gratitude, purpose, and a quiet peace that no amount of money could ever purchase. $40 million had been stolen through betrayal, yet 3 gentle words from a child had restored something priceless. In the end, the greatest fortune was never hidden inside bank accounts or luxury buildings. It lived inside ordinary hearts willing to lift another person when they needed it most. And perhaps that is the richest legacy any human being could ever leave behind.